Hello and welcome to another episode of Micka on Influence. Every week I bring you the experts of the world of media, marketing, and influencing. And today joining me is Evan Kotton. He is the digital media strategist at Mediology. Welcome, Evan. How are you doing?
Hi, Mika. Thanks so much for having me. I'm great. How are you?
Great, fantastic. I'm glad that we could finally get this interview going.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge where the technological schedule clashes. Yeah, but we're here and I'm excited for it.
Fantastic. Can you share with us how your journey led you to influencer marketing?
So I started in digital marketing probably just over 10 years ago. Um, and yeah, I started at an agency called Firewater. It's a predominantly digital marketing agency. And yeah, I was working in Facebook in its infancy stages a little before I joined that agency. So yeah, I've kind of watched the social media beast grow and develop over the years. And as influencer marketing became bigger and bigger, was finding it being an integral part of our media strategies. It's about word of mouth advertising that's always been super strong. And influencer marketing really taps into that in a real and authentic way. I don't think any content can really emulate. Um, it's just got that human element, and people people do business with people. People buy from people, and I think social media has really had this ability to turn businesses into people and brands into people, giving them a voice and being able to directly communicate with customers, but it never felt real and authentic. And influencers was that next step in the challenge and, connecting that gap. And basically creating sales reps that tell whole stories.
Basically, that's what it is.
And yeah, then, yeah, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. It is exactly that. It's cool sales reps that have a lot of followers and make awesome content, but it's authentic. And I think that's what makes influencer content work. And yeah, I think now working at Mediology, our influencer content, uh, a lot of our portfolio is to pharmaceuticals. And there's a lot of value that we gain in content because no one wants to really get ads from medicine company. It's unless you've got some really funny TVC that's going on. I don't want to mention our competitors on the show, but uh, there's some funny TVCs that have gone out, with the sniffles and coughing and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I we've seen amazing success when it comes to influencers implement our campaigns and sharing their experiences, how certain of the men have helped with their kids' day-to-day lives. And yeah, it's that authenticity that I keep mentioning. It's really the main selling there.
Fantastic. And then let's go to the next question. What's the biggest misconception brands still have about influencer marketing? If you could share your thoughts.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that um, they are the only type of comms that you should be sending. I think part of the mix, and also they need media behind them. People think, oh, we'll get 10 macro influencers and they'll sell the product. That's not how the algorithms work. Organic reach specifically for branded pages is exceptionally low, whether it's an influencer or your own brand's page. So you need media strategy to get the influence strategy, and really make sure that you post it if they are good product. So, making sure there's unique promo codes, links to online retailers, just so you can see how effective that in actually generating sales.
Okay. And what do you see as the biggest difference between influencer marketing and then traditional advertising?
Um, I think the interesting avenue that's starting to appear with ambassadors, and something we've actually started, the really good influencers actually for a billboard, if it's getting phenomenal at creating high quality content. Think is this new hybrid content starting to be invented. And it has become a bit cheaper if the influence to create as well. Just in terms of editing for posts, but um, there's a bit of a reality between traditional media and influence influences. I feel like it's almost like a one-to-one communication when they put out a piece of content, where I don't know, it might just be me, but traditional media is still the ad is always speaking to a much broader audience.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then when it comes to the impact and return on investment, what's the biggest differences?
Um, well, traditional media is always the big thing there. Always it's our above the line team of it's like this is me for digital. And I always wonder, just what would I do with 3 times the spend? Um, so yeah, traditional is always going to be more expensive. I think it makes sense. Platforms are well, they cost more. There's a lot more that goes into it. Um, but I think there's a misconception that investment for digital is supposed to be super high because it's cheaper. And I think there's a lot more to do with brand building that can be done in traditional media. Um, that is that constant reinforcement that is often overlooked. And in the past, I've seen a lot of clients have over-invested in digital and not invested in traditional. That they aren't one versus the other. It's a whole ecosystem that need to support each other. So your return on investment on digital will naturally be traditional and vice versa.
And then what creators do you think right now are very popular at that stage, at this stage right now? What's some of your favorite, or who is some of your favorite?
So it's actually quite a funny one because for someone who works in digital, I try to spend as little time from media as possible. Um, but also, I am on social media, of course, I have to be. But I'm very select with the content creators that I do follow. So I enjoy going to gym and music production. And so a lot of the content creators that I follow are involved in either of those industries. So I watch a lot from guys like Cloud, Micka and James Smith, all very big um, personalities, I'd say, in the fitness space. But their content is exceptionally well curated. The talk about are always fresh and new. I mean, you think there's only so many ways to lift a dumbbell and do a bench press. They really dive deep into the topic. And, there's a lot of things about nutrition. And they'll talk about the pros and cons of using something like Ozempic, for example. You might have a very strong opinion, oh, it's bad for you, no one should be doing it. They'll get light on positive use cases that come out of using it. It might increase someone's propensity to actually start doing things. So I found a very interesting topic. In music production side, there's guys like Streaky and Zen World and LFF really make very good, informative things to how music works, sound design, and stuff like that, which is a bit of a passion project of mine. So yeah, I think guys like that work really, really well. You've got your Miss and they started off as influencers, but now they running full businesses of what they created. So yeah, I think if you've got a good business strategy and a good marketing brain, you're not afraid to get in front of a camera and talk nonsense for a bit. You can really do well to yourself as an influencer.
Absolutely. And then what are some of the key factors that you would consider when building an influencer strategy, especially for a brand? What do we need to look at as, let's say, coming from a marketing perspective?
My immediate checklist is making sure that the people being sourced as influencers are actually a good fit for the brand,
Mm,
that they are aligned with your target market, that the content that is created is aligned with the brand, and also a lot of I found a lot of clients find that it's all about their followers. I find it's less about the followers and more about the quality of the content that's coming from the influencer.
mm,
I think there's also this trend that everybody wants to be an influencer these days. And there's a lot of influencer agencies that have a lot of people that have a big following, but their content is really great. And there's a lot of nano influencers out there that have a very small following but make exceptional content. So, it's really making sure that the influence is as a marketable asset for the brand as possible.
mm,
And sometimes, depending on what the campaign objective might be, it might make more sense to have 50 nano influencers versus five macro. So it depends what your campaign is about, and what the actual messaging is going to be. Um, I think there's a place for both. Sometimes it's a mix of having macro, micro, and nanos. Um, but yeah, it's also making sure that you're getting best mix based on the budget you have, and
mm,
without a doubt, making sure there's allocated budget for amplifying the influencer campaign through paid media.
mm.
Without that, I think it really cuts your campaign short because the best content in the world doesn't exist if it doesn't get set up.
Hey creators, Micka here with a quick tip to level up your influencer income game. If you haven't checked out Webfluential yet, you're leaving money on the table. It's Africa's #1 platform for creators, hooking you up directly with brands ready to pay for your influence. With the Creator Pro dashboard, you can chat with brands, manage your collabs, and watch the cash roll in, all in one place. More brands flock to Webfluential than elsewhere in Africa because they know your reach delivers a serious bang for their buck. Ready to cash in? Swing by webfluential.com, claim your profile, and turn your audience into a paycheck today.
Beyond the likes and all the comments, what metrics really matter when it comes to these campaigns?
Um, so it's an interesting question. I think it's falling less into the engagement metrics, more about awareness for me. I think if we use traditional media as a great example, it is all about awareness with the traditional media. It's not always possible to close the loop of if you saw a billboard and you convert it into a customer. And, the more people that see your ad, the more likely they are to be able to buy your product or service. Where I feel people know ads are ads on social media, and expecting someone to engage with an ad is far less important for me than making sure that our frequency was up and top of mind awareness was there. There's a lot of brands that I've been advertised to, and obviously this is a sample of one, but you'll know that the sale is happening at a certain company, even though you aren't necessarily inclined to like, comment, or share the post. And if your awareness of that post or ad wasn't in existence, would you have bought product? So, like, oh, discount ad doesn't mean I'm going to like the post, but I might now know that a product is on sale at discount and I'll go and buy it in store. Um, we also found a lot of people use e-commerce platforms, companies, as a shopping cart. So they'll go and they add all their products to their discount or clicks basket, and we can track the actual journey all the way to the basket. But there's a massive drop off on online sales, but in-store sales have picked up during that period. And we're realizing that those customers are using their clicks e-commerce basket as a shopping list. And that all happened through awareness. We weren't really worried about the engagement there. So yeah, for me, awareness is always going to be key. If people don't know about you, um, you're not going to have a positive impact. Where I feel like if your brand is creating content that's engagement worthy, you'll naturally start getting those chains. But that's more of a content debate than it is about brand awareness debate.
While promoting anything, any campaign, or driving influence?
I think authenticity is the key. Without it, your brand just seems like another brand. And I think it's about having a brand tone of voice, sticking to it and creating a personality for your brand online. Um, Without that consistency, people don't know who you are. And I think there's a lot of successful influencers out there. I go back to the music industry, that there's a famous producer from Australia named Fisher. And even if people don't like his content, a lot of people follow him on social media because he just makes funny content. And he's a bit of a goofball. And he's got a bit of an emotional side to him when it comes to his wife and his daughter. But you're following this guy around, touring the world, living this luxurious lifestyle, playing in the top clubs and festivals across the world. But I'm more interested in what's going on in his family life than about his music. And that's because he's being so authentic about it. And without that authenticity, all he would have to say is, "Hey, my latest track is out. I'm playing at this festival. I'm playing at this club," which becomes a very boring story to tell. And the authenticity comes from him sharing a piece of himself at his life, which you don't really get. So I think tying it back to a brand perspective, try and have that realness to yourself. You know, start creating content that doesn't feel and if it means that it's almost we've deemed this term flaw authentic at Mediology, where you've got people filming everyday life of what's happening in the offices. So who's that one person who steals everybody's lunch and make a funny video about behind the scenes of what's happening at a company. I think that kind of content builds brand love, and that authenticity is what makes people want to do business with a brand. It shows that it's more than just, hey, buy our products. We're real people. We real lives as well.
I can definitely attest to that. I think I followed a lot of influencers, and then at first, I don't like the polished side to them, but then I like the raw and genuine and authentic side that they share, which we can all relate to as customers.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think what's important to remember is the algorithms prefer this slightly unpolished content as well. So your organic reach is probably going to go a little bit further if it doesn't feel like it's an ad. Algorithms have gotten to a point where they know what's promoted, what is and what is a real ad versus me just talking about the product because I like my drive to work. They're two very different things. And yeah, if you want to do well organically, you need to be a little bit.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk budgets. When budgets are tight, what is your advice to brands that still want to leverage influencer marketing, right, effectively, but they don't want to overspend, they don't want to spend too much? What would you tell them?
Less is more in that case. Rather do one thing well and do a lot of things at a medium level. So in that case, at your budget start, find out what your core audience is hanging out with. If they're on Meta, then do more, or get more influencers that are, predominantly on Meta. A lot of influencers are on Meta, they're on TikTok, they're on YouTube as well. Find out, does that influencer have a big audience on Meta if it's recorded or audiences? Um, and rather invest in fewer high of content, you get as much as the budget, but a little bit less on the content creation side and a bit of a reserve for media amplification.
Okay. Right, let's switch to a very hot topic, AI. I feel like it just grew massively this year, especially. What role do you see AI and digital tools playing in influencer marketing moving forward?
It's taking our jobs, and the Terminator is inevitable. So say please and thank you every time you use GPT. um, but on a serious note, I'm not. I think there's a lot of great uses for AI, and I think the people that are scared it's going to be taking our jobs are not working hard enough. To be honest, I think there's a way to fit AI into almost every day-to-day um, kind of industry, and there's people utilizing AI to become influencers. But there's a lot of influencers who are using AI to create more content for them. So, are you creative enough in what AI can do for you? Um, and follow AI closely. There's a lot of it's probably a tip or a tool, should I say, that's popped up for almost free. So utilize it to your advantage. There's one thing that AI will never create is uh, creativity. It can only reference what's already existed. So it's not create art, but it's not going to create new. It's not going to create a genre of music. It's not going to create um, new film production, for example. It can't. It could write a movie, but that movie would inherently that exists. So there's always a place for making us more efficient. Mm, There is also the scary side to it as well. And getting to a point where content creation from an AI is getting so good that, like, there's times where honestly I don't know if what I'm watching is real or fake. So it's also on that premise that I've been watching millions of some very tasks. He said the collapse of the internet is actually upon us because of it. Because when people who believed in fake news, and please excuse me for not quoting it directly, but on the premise that many people who believed in fake news are now questioning whether the fake news was created by AI or not. They won't know whether to believe fake news. Um, which makes them an unbeliever in the things that they believed in before. And whilst I'm explaining this very poorly, people won't know what to believe in, and therefore we can't rely on that source as a source of information. And so it's ultimately almost the collapse of the which is very interesting because I wonder what we're going to do with our lives. I think people will probably start spending a lot more time outside, right? But yeah, we might see a complete 360. We start relying on news channels that are online and go back completely to like TV and radio. And I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson's a highly educated person. I think it's a very interesting theory to have. But yeah, I could see it, potentially happening when no one knows what to believe anymore.
Fantastic. Just to wrap it up, what excites you the most about the future of influencer marketing?
I think I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of cool media partners. And influencer marketing is starting to evolve outside of the social media channel that influencer is. And I think that was always my biggest gripe was it's great. We get a lot of value out of influencers, but their posts only exist on Meta, for example. And if you're not on Meta, how does that influencer have your life? So, touching back on what I had mentioned earlier, like turning an influencer into a brand ambassador or content, they could start doing TVCs or being the voice to radio. And now doing a gold thread that goes throughout all your traditional media as well as your digital media. And I think there's a lot of brands that are starting into that, and also how can we get more content in the out of the social media platform that's still in the digital ecosystem. So yeah, there's some cool technology on play. Um, and yeah, I'm super excited to see how influencer marketing is being tackled in the future.
Okay. Final question. What is your advice for any upcoming marketers or young marketers just entering the industry? What would you give them, advice would you give them to help build their career?
Um, I think if you're looking to get involved in marketing, firstly, is a warning. It's it's a very interesting industry where either it's quiet or everything is always happening at the same time. Um, so be prepared to work some late hours every now and again. Uh, but I think find something that interests you within the marketing world, whether it be digital marketing, whether it's on the paid media side, whether it's content creation. I think in the traditional space, there's a lot to play with as well. Look, I would pick one and learn it well, and then see it how marketing as a whole kind of integrates with each other with a full strategy. But for me, I'd what's going to be the be all and end all when I was studying. So that's why I went into digital. But there's only after I really spent a good 10 years working in marketing, I realized traditional marketing. That's where I'm trying to myself. So I think wouldn't have come to the conclusion unless I as a whole for quite some time. And yeah, that's really it. I think also follow marketing channels, platforms as possible. Stay up to date with what's happening with AI because you really changing the marketing game. And yeah, just keep at it. And yeah, consume as much information as you can.
No, thank you so much for joining me for this episode, Evan. And to our listeners and our viewers right now, go like, follow, subscribe. Do drop your favorite advice that Evan gave in the comment section. Until next time, keep on influencing and keep being influential. Bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of Micka on Influence. I hope you're walking away with fresh insights and new ideas to level up your influencing game. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like, and also share with your network. Join the community obsessed with mastering the art and science of influence. Because in this space, we don't just follow trends, we create them. Until next time, keep creating, keep connecting, and stay influential.